Hello, everybody. This is Pete from Paw Labs, and haven't done a video in a day or two, so I figured I needed to do one. I've been making an awful lot of changes on the Wargame Studio. Uh, let's see if I can try to remember them all. We have the terrain rules. Terrain rules now. You can choose element type as opposed to element. So the unit type is a land unit, sea unit, air unit, that sort of thing. Or you can make the rule a specific, um, element type rule. So I've been testing those out, as you can see. And let's see, the other big change has been to the structure of the application. I realized that players needed to be a child of opponents, so instead of a child of maps. And as you can imagine, it was a massive change. Um, I'm still fixing little tweaks here and there on it. It affected 27 code sheets and no less than about 15 database tables. So, and it took me basically 2 solid days to get it to work. To get it to compile would took a little over a day, but to actually get it to come up and work was a whole nother thing altogether. So now we actually have opponents, and opponents are made up of players or nations underneath opponent. So that was the great big thing that changed. Um, Literally affected every object in the entire in the system. So let's see. Let's jump over and I will bring up the game itself for some of the changes I've been doing here. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up the software, bring up the server side, the game playing side. That's where I've been spending most of my time. I keep migrating more and more stuff to the configuration software side. That way I don't have to keep turning things on for testing and stuff like that. I can set them and then test it over and over. Let's see. I have the background music muted. It kind of drives me crazy when I'm on the headset and doing stuff with recording. So, um, okay, so here's the main software. I have unit moving, so you just poking around on the screen. You can bring up things like this is a factory. It'll kick down the factory information of what's here. You can, let's see, this is a city. A city is designed to have planes. So envision an airport somewhere in the city. That's why it comes up with the standard unit type thing with the ability to make, to launch and attack and stuff like that. So if we get out of there, go to a farm. Here's a farm. It looks a lot like the other factory one. Basically, it's shared on the database layer. Units come up this way. The info buttons all work, and you can bring up specifics on the individual units. Multiple units come up and they are individually selectable. However, I can't select this. These are all disabled because this is the Air Force bombing phase. So ideally, I would be able to come in here, select units, and say move, but I can't select units. So what I can show you is the next piece of this that I've been working on. When you select an airport or a cell that has no visible units, you have the structure. Clicking on the structure brings up the airplanes. To give you a good example, here's an example that has a runway underneath both of these units. So initially you click it, you have the military surface units. You can click the uh, uh, airstrip, and then you end up with the planes. So you can select both planes, and we're going to send them on a strike. Let's go ahead and we'll attack here. Now, um, a number of things just occurred. So first, you had the shading for the specific plane. Planes don't have to deal with zones of control. Everything is a space of one character, so they can move usually pretty far. Um, so if you can get there, then you can get back, is the concept in my head. Now, we selected both of our fighter units, and we're going to hit this unknown unit, which happens to be an anti-aircraft. So his goal in life is to shoot down bombers. I have to tweak some of the numbers. His ability to fight against fighters is very minimal, and his ability to fight against land units is almost zero. So that brings about the concept of, if you look at the units, we have three values. The bottom center is movement. Um, then you have the upper left and the upper right. The wow, it's been so long since I played with this. I believe the upper right is air. That is your defense or attack against a defense against air or whatnot. And I haven't tweaked any of the underlying tables yet. And then the other number is land. Okay, so land or sea, because if it's a naval unit, that would then be the sea number, that kind of thing. So in the bombing, you can come along and select multiple, let's throw in some bombers against, whoops, didn't quite, I missed it, is what I did. So we select our two bombers. We're going to have them attack, and we can have them join in the attack against that anti-aircraft. So the next thing to do would be, as I finish this out, would be to roll the dice and resolve the damages. Um, as a rule, you can also, let me back this up and say, you can also have fighters attack towns and farms and cities and stuff like that. Um, so as this is going on, your opponent would then be able to say, hey, I've got fighters here. I'm going to join them into intercepting your bombing run on that unit. Okay? So he is free or she is free to add to this combat. It's not one-sided. So as things progress, and when both sides check off that they're ready to let that combat proceed, then the dice can be rolled and results. So if a bomber goes after a farm, well, the farm has a defense and he has hit points, but he can't return fire against the bomber. The bomber's going to come out unscathed, regardless of what the attrition tables say. All damage goes then solely onto the farm or the city or the factory. And that's going to happen separate than the unit combat. So let's presume that this anti-aircraft was actually, maybe he was in this factory or this farm or what have you. Okay, so I attack the farm. The anti-aircraft and the planes can fight, but then the planes, the bombers specifically, will do toll directly onto the farm itself, because even no matter what they drop onto the farm is going to do damage to the farm. So that'll end up marking off against the hit points until the farm is actually destroyed or gets rebuilt. Um, the unit, the anti-aircraft, could then fire back against the bombers and maybe knock out a couple, three bombers in the bombing run. And pretty much the fighters on this are going to come out unscathed because, I mean, it would be a very small probability for them to hit anything. They're too fast, they fly too low. They'd have to really get lucky. So, that is how the game is progressing. I do have movement. Unfortunately, for this video, I can't show it. I can go in and hotwire the code and I'll do a second video. I don't know that it'll be tonight, but and show movement, but it's the same basic concept. You select the unit, you choose the units you want to move, the top one or the bottom one, hit the move button, and then the area shades to tell you where he can move. Movement is much the same as it was in the video war game. You can move into a zone of control, and at that point you stop. Um, I am going to institute that you have to have two movement points to move and have combat in the same turn. Okay? So just because you can reach a unit doesn't mean you have enough reserve movement to actually engage the unit. So take this armor, he could actually move two and then also engage that unit, whereas the infantry up here moves two, well, then he would have two movement points. So yeah, he could go into that as well. But if he moved to here, he would have used three movement points, have one left over. He can't go into combat that turn. So uh, combat is going to require movement points to initiate combat, which only makes sense. Uh, and everybody only gets one attack. So if you choose to send your fighters up against the bombers, then you can't use your fighters against fighters that may be used in the land engagement portion of the combat. So once you've been involved in combat, your movement goes to zero, and then you're out of luck. So you're just kind of open and available. So the idea would be to try to figure out a way to sucker your opponent into using his fighters early, and then use your fighters to great advantage in the onslaught of your land units, in support of your land units, because it would be a real quick addition. Take, for instance, these two infantry here. I've got four armored divisions that can hit him. I could throw in four additional fighters on top of that and instantly have over 5-to-1 odds on both of those units. And pretty much that would annihilate those two units. So if you had if French saved back some of their fighters, they could engage fighters into that fight. And for squadron against squadron, they get taken off the fight. Otherwise, they will add to the defense of the infantry and dole out damage. So that is how it is envisioned in my head to work. Combat is almost a simultaneous thing because of the ability of these fighters to have multiple roles. They can fly like what I'm doing here as escort for the bombers. So if fighters show up, they'll go against the fighters and those fighters won't be able to touch the bombers. So I haven't figured a way to show all of that yet. I got a feel in this screen over here on the left, the panel that pops up. You have the ability to pop it up yourself, but if you don't, that's okay. The minute you go into combat, it'll automatically pop up and populate and give you the info. So that is where the Wargame Studio is at, progressing along quite nicely. I figured that probably another 3 or 4 days, and this will almost be a playable sort of thing. It's not that far away. So anyhow, I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope this isn't too long.